welcome back to Millennial Third Mom. Today, I'm going to break down just some things to consider as you build a flexible baby and me morning routine. So last week, I actually did a few different options for you to have you time in the morning, but this will be a continuation. So it's like once I pick up the baby, what does that look like? So keep watching to get some ideas. So first, I wanted to just start off with some notes about having a routine. I know that having a routine postpartum can be like, what do you mean? Like things are always changing. And I feel that because I vividly remember being like, it feels like every single day feels different. Like, when does my daughter sleep? When does she wake up? When do we do this and that? So I think here, when I talk about routine, I want to emphasize the flexibility piece of like, we hold the routine like this, right? Palms up. We say, generally, this is how the morning goes, but we can flex, we can adapt. I think for me, honestly, that mindset shift has been the hardest, but it's been the one that I'm like, oh, I see this like impacting different areas of my life. I'm able to be more flexible with my work, with my relationships. So that's just like a little mini disclaimer that whatever season that you're in right now, a routine can be as flexible, as loose as you need, but there are so many benefits to routines. There's been research that shows how it can help decrease anxiety and stress. It can help improve mood. And to be honest, for me, having a routine in the morning kind of helped me set up with a groove because I knew that generally what to expect. And now, like I've mentioned, I'm 15 months postpartum, so my routine might look different than yours, and my child is different than yours. But I generally have a sense of like, all right, this is generally how the morning goes. And then when things don't go in that plan, I can flex. I can be like, all right, cool. Like it's not one of those days, right? So, one thing around that is like, for example, if I know that I have a routine that typically maybe she naps around 10, let's say we want to go into an event that starts at 10:30, then I can say, all right, we typically do an event or a nap around 10, but because we're going to go do something special today, we're going to flex it, we're going to shift. For me, it's much easier to shift and flex once there's something to like flex and shift. When there is nothing and it just is like, I don't know what's happening today, it's harder for me to be flexible because I don't even know what my foundation is. And so that's kind of like one of the first steps. The next one, which is very much related to what I kind of already said, is to remember to keep FAMs in mind. As you think about when I pick up my baby, what do I want that first wake window to look like? And if you're not familiar with the word wake window, is a term that's sometimes used in like sleep and baby sleep language, where it's like how many hours a baby is typically awake before they may need to take another nap or rest again. So every baby is individual. So this is not like 100% true all the time. And if they're sick, it might change it. If they're teething, it might change it. But generally speaking, earlier in their life, babies usually can only stay up maybe an hour, right? 30 minutes or an hour before they need a nap. As they get a little bit older, it starts to stretch. Right now, my toddler is 15 months. So right now, her wake windows are closer to 3, 4 hours. So I know for me, like, okay, the earlier in the day, they're typically shorter wake windows too, at least for my daughter. So I know that during earlier in the day, she's probably going to be up for about 3 hours, about before she's going to need to nap. So I keep that in mind. So I'm thinking about a FAM's morning routine with my toddler that is about 3 hours long. So that's kind of just like awareness of that. And then the FAMs, which I already talked about flexibility, being able to not hold on to the schedule or the routine too tight and being like, flexibly speaking, this is generally how it goes. The A, which is for acceptance and accepting that in current seasons of postpartum and toddlerhood and probably even beyond, there is going to be changes in the routine. There is going to be changes in my capacity. Maybe I'm sick one day and it's more like maybe I do a little bit more screen time on the days I'm sick than the days that I'm not, right? Like that's okay. I'm human. So just accepting that things change, your baby changes, and we can go connecting it back. We can go and be flexible. Like it's going to be okay. The M is for mindfulness, which uh, to me is just being aware of the present moment. So let's say you are figuring out your morning routine and you're like, wait a minute, I don't really like doing the outdoor walk right when we wake up. It's not realistic for me. You can check in with yourself and be like, all right, maybe I don't like it that time, but maybe I can try a different time, right? But if you just force yourself to wake up and go walk immediately and you hate it the whole time, that's not really maybe beneficial as much because you want to do something that takes into consideration how it sets you up for the rest of the day. And I'll give an example with mine at the end here, just so you can see how I came up with mine. And lastly, S. So for self-compassion, really consider yourself and how you are showing up, how you are getting nourished. When we're talking about breakfast with baby, did we already eat our breakfast? When we're talking about the type of music that we're playing in the morning, is it something that also feeds us, right? Like just because I have a toddler doesn't mean I need to only listen to toddler music. Like I mentioned before, my toddler loves Selena because we play it together. She loves like worship music with me because we play it together. So you really do have an ability to set up habits and routines, not just for yourself, but for your baby. So I hope that you consider FAMS, your wake window, and also baby steps in building your baby and me morning routine that is flexible, that considers you, and that is mentally healthy. So to wrap up this video, I'm just going to give you an example of what my current baby and me morning routine is so that you can see it's about 3 hours long and it took some pivoting, some adjusting. I had to kind of figure out like again, be mindful of like what feels good, what feels like it gives me energy in the morning or it just helps me get ready basically for the rest of the time with my toddler. So I'm just going to go ahead and review it. So typically after I do my me time, and I'll link the video here because it ranges from 5 minutes to an hour and a half sometimes pre getting the baby up. Usually get her around 7, and I will just immediately put on my positive playlist. It's also called my start the day positive playlist, and it has some of my songs that just get me in a good mood. So that's kind of the first thing. I grab her, I change her diaper, we have some music playing. From there, we do breakfast. And for me, I kind of learned that I can get like a solid 10, 15 minutes. She typically usually just eats like banana, milk, fruits, granola, something really simple. And then I like to just get the dishes done. That's just me. You might be different, but I just can't really stand seeing them sit there for too much longer. So I'll usually be dancing and washing the dishes while she's eating. That works for me. And again, I mentioned like I have some me time before I do this. So I definitely want to encourage you to like don't keep just run straight to the chores as soon as you're up. Like do something for you, even if it's small, like washing your face and taking a deep breath, right? Which I talk about in the other video. But that's typically what we do. And then around 7:30ish. So my daughter does wake up at about 7. So 7:30ish we start to transition towards the living room 7:30, 7:45 actually. We transition to the living room and then I just put some of our what we call it like a worship concert. So whether that's like music video or like a video with lyrics or just like on the speaker, it really depends on the day. We'll just dance. She will just play around, run around, play with all her stuff. We'll do that for about 30 minutes. And it's nice for me. Sometimes will write or like look at my calendar for the day while she does that. But my intention really is to be more present. So having this little routine helps me redirect. My right now we're doing worship, right now we're doing play. Then around after 30 minutes or so, around 8:15ish, we do a toddler show that is Christian that she really likes. I really like. It has affirmations, it has a morning routine, it has like scripture. So for us, that's important. Whatever is important for you, I want you to consider like what will help us set up for the day together, so that we feel like we got our cups filled a little bit. And remember, like baby and me, morning routine can include you, and please let it include you and your needs too and your mental health. Then once that's over, we pretty much just play. She's at the age now where she can roam around. She runs around where it's a toddler living room. So she pretty much just does what she wants. And sometimes I'll color, which I think is actually really nice for adults to also color and doodle. That can be mindfulness, but it can also be just stress relief, and creativity is good for us. Play is good for us. Like all those things, priceless. And then sometimes it depends on the day, but sometimes around 9:15 ish, 9:30, we'll go on a walk outside, quick walk, like 10, 15 minutes. But if we don't go on a walk, like we'll just hang out on the little porch area so we can look at the trees so that she can kind of explore. So some outdoor time, nature time, time looking at the trees, time hearing the birds. I definitely recommend, even if you're not like walking outside, if there is a way to get some nature in, I definitely recommend it from my personal experience with mental health and kids. I know that nature is really good for us all, really, to connect with nature. And then around that same time, whether we're done playing outside watching nature or we're back inside, more coloring, more doodling, more music. Again, this is a flexible morning routine. So I want to emphasize that I want you to make it your own. What would make sense for you that fills both you and your little's cup? Because one thing I was reflecting on recently is like, I'm helping shape her habits. And I don't want this to feel like ooh, that's a lot of pressure, right? It's much easier to do that when I also know that I'm doing things that are good for me too. So my challenge to you is just to consider what would be a good enough-ish morning routine for you and your baby that will consider the mental health of you and your family, that will consider how you can get your cup filled in a little bit too, so that you can make it. Because being a stay-at-home, we're just spending a lot of time with a toddler. It requires a lot of energy being poured out. So making sure to pour back into you is really important. So I want you to let that marinate for the next week or so. Whenever you watch this, like that's when the time starts. Like just start trying things out in the morning. Like, do we like this music? Do we like this show? We don't like this show. We don't like this music. Let's switch it up. Do we like this breakfast? No, that's too much work. Let's switch up the breakfast. So just allow yourself to be flexible and just experiment, because this took me like about a couple of months of experimenting, to be honest, where now I feel like, all right, I'm on a good flow. I got a good rhythm. And that's what I want for you. I want you to feel like you got a good flow, a good rhythm that is flexible and that considers yourself. So make sure to follow and subscribe if you want more topics and tips. I'm on Instagram, Millennial Thermom, on YouTube, but you can also find me at connectwithjaylee.com. I got some exciting upcoming events, so make sure to go check out the event section. And I hope you all take care. Please let me know if anything resonates in the comments. I love hearing from you and my little online community. So I hope you take care. Bye.